Ravindra sir, we'll start in 5 minutes, sir. Ravindra sir. Sorry, participants, there is a technical glitch at the resource person side. Sir will be joining soon. So hope you understand. Please wait for 5 more minutes. Good morning, all the participants. Welcome to the seminar on forensic accounting and role of accountants. Today, the resource person is Dr. A.S. Gurudat, IQAC coordinator, research head, Sindhi Institute of Management, MC member, ICAI Bangalore chapter. Let me introduce today's resource person, Dr. A.S. Gurudat Garu. He is presently working as IQAC coordinator, research head, Sindhi Institute of Management, AICT Innovation Head. He is the past chairman, coaching and chairman research unit and present MC member of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Bangalore chapter. He is the peer reviewer for International Journal of Creative Research Thoughts. He has completed BCom, LLB, FCMA, MBA, MCom, PhD, DFM and ADM. He is having a teaching experience of 16 years and industry experience of 12 years. His areas of teaching is in commerce, accounts, finance, costing, law, and other related discipline studies. He has got many awards for prestigious Dr. Abdul Kalam Lifetime Achievement Award, Best Education Award, Rashtriya Vidya Gaurav Gold Medal Award, Star of Asia Award, Global Intercontinental Award, Lifetime Education Achievement Award, National and International Compodium, recognition for prestigious Dr. Radhakrishna Shikshana Ratna National Award, Mahatma Gandhi Samman International Award, honored at House of Commons, London, UK, Golden Falcon Award for outstanding achievements, a remarkable role in the field of education, and many more. Sir has different publications, and sir have been acted as a resource person in different webinars, workshops, conferences, etc. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for accepting our request and coming as a resource person for this webinar. Over to you, sir.
Very good morning. So I would like to thank the management of CIET and thanks Kiran for introducing me. And so let me share the screen first of all, and good morning for all the participants as well. And I hope everyone can see this, right? Can you see this? Can you see? Can you please all of you confirm whether my audio and video is very comfortable and can you see everything?
It's audible, sir, and the video is also visible.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So very good morning once again for all of you, and so today I welcome all of you for today's session for forensic audit and the role of an accountant. And so it is very much important, pertinent that you need to know about how the accounting aspects that has been which has been taken over has to be scrupulously been post-mortem analysis has to be done for it to know whether we are able to get whether we are able to know whether we are in perfect pitch with the auditing, whatever that has been done. So first of all, even before going to that, we need to know what is the meaning and what is the exact implication of this forensic accounting. So it is very much important, pertinent to know this forensic accounting, like it is very basic idea of forensic accounting is that it is a combination of accounting and investigative techniques which are used to discover the financial crimes. So a lot of money laundering is happening all around the way. So it is very much important to know that whether the accounting skills and analytical skills that is there so that we need to utilize it in order to investigate into the financial transactions of a person or a business, no matter. So it is very much important and pertinent that the forensic accounting mainly highlights in detecting the crimes, especially in the financial crimes. With those which has been perpetrated by the white collar crime, and so it is very much important to loop and find out the misdemeanors that has happened from them, mainly in terms of embezzlement, money laundering, or VAT fraud, or tax evasion, or it may be in the perspective of the financial exploitation, hidden assets. So here, anybody can play a role of investigating accountants or fraud auditors or even forensic auditors or fraud investigators. So let us go into the depth of this. So forensic accounting basically is it is a dynamic perspective of seeing the accounting, especially from the point of view of the financial accounting training, is a specialized branch which needs to be acquired, and basically it is a body of academy, and it is basically the perspective of individual where he can prospectively train himself and he can go ahead in finding out the explorative view of the securities and tax fraud or business valuation or computer forensics, or it may be from electronic discovery or economic damages or bankruptcy and insolvency and due diligence that can happen over here. So forensic, as I told you, it is nothing but a post-mortem analysis of whatever the accounts done, and to find out the crime that has been perpetrated by the white collar people. And so it is normally eventually in-depth auditing that will be done in respect to the financial institutions, whether it is no matter if it is a bank or any other financial institutions. So the originality, if you go for the origin of the forensic accounting, it was Donald Cressy and Edwin Southland who first commemorated with this in the Principles of Criminology, where they brought about the in-depth analysis of what should be a type of accounting that where fraud triangle occurs. And he studied for the first time how the auditing standards with statement of auditing standards, especially in respect to the consideration of fraud in financial statement audit, and in AU 316, where he first of all discovered how what should be the resolution for the Sarbanes-Oxley Act and the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act and Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, where he for the first time said how this can be done. So the origin, if you say, it was the first who are the CPAs who brought about this, the Certified Public Accountants, and they for the first time in 1980s and 1980s who coined for the first time as to this is a separate branch of accounting. And so they immediately after the many of the scams that has happened, especially Enron, WorldCom scams that has happened, it was for the first time the Certified Public Accountants they regulated this and they brought about how the forensic accounting can be monitored and what all the steps that is there. And they are the first who propagated this as the main branch of study where we can go into the financial theft of the customers, especially in terms of securities fraud, bankruptcy, and defaulting on debt. And it may be in terms of economic damages or mergers and acquisition related lawsuits or tax evasion or fraud, or it may be from the perspective of the corporate valuation disputes or professional negligence claims or money laundering and privacy information, and even in the case of divorce proceedings. Forensic investigation is a one which terminology which we need to know even before understanding the forensic accounting or forensic auditing. So Forensic investigation is the first threshold terminology where it utilizes the science to establish the facts and evidence which is to be used for the crime-based trials and proceedings. And so many different fields of science can be applied in forensic investigation, especially in terms of uh, especially in terms of the what all the forensic studies, including biology and medicine, anthropology, and even in engineering that has been done. So here, the once you have understood the forensic, especially from perspective of this investigation, we need to know what is fraud auditing. It's a detailed examination of the financial records of a business with the intent of finding the instances of the fraud. So that is the main meaning of the fraud auditing. And subsequently, I would like to make you understand the difference between forensic audit and other audit. The forensic audit basically commences with a suspicion, whereas the general auditing, the statutory audit, whatever we do, we initially do not proceed from the suspicion point of view. So we proceed from the generality basis. So if there is any suspicion, then it will be a special audit. So that's the reason why any statutory audit, whenever it is done for a company, we proceed on a normal proceedings, and whenever the normal procedures has been followed, especially from the point of view of the substantive or compliance procedure which has been followed, if there's any suspicion from the procedure that we extend the procedure and we go in depth into that particular area to discover unearth the fraud that has happened. But in this case for forensic audit, we are not proceeding in the normal procedure, but since we have the area where we have to focus, since it is very clear that the area especially where we need to see, so it's very much important that and pertinent that we need to go directly into the special audit. And so forensic audit examination is designed to focus on reconstructing the past financial transaction for a specific purpose. So it is very much important that the external audit, internal audit, and internal revenue service audits, whatever is there, which has been devised by CPA, which will have a different perspective over here. So what is a fraud? That is the main intention we need to understand. Once you have understood the reasons, so what is the meaning of the fraud, or what is the reason and why the people commit, it is very easy for you to track each and every perspective over here. So fraud, the meaning I say that it's wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. Mainly, it is a wrongful act or criminal deception intended to commit or so that to see that the main result is in financial personal gain. So it is mainly committed by the person or the white collar people. So there are, according to Cressy, he says that there are in fraud triangle there are three apex points. One is pressure, another one is rationalization, the third one is opportunity. So these are three ideas where reasons, so what I say, the focus where the fraud may be perpetrated. If you see from the opportunity point of view, it may be the ability to carry out the misappropriation of cash or organization aspect. So it is mainly where the companies have downsizing, which has an immediate effect on internal controls. And so if it is rationalization point of view, it is from justification of dishonest actions, or it may be from pressure point of view, it may be motivation or incentive to commit the fraud. So I say that these are the three reasons where the fraud can be committed. So Donald Cressy has given a detailed perspective on this. So once you have understood, it is very pertinent that you can know why the forensic audit has become. And so there are some hard facts to know why this forensic audit is required in this present area presently. So it is very much important that the forensic audit did not come in a way. It has come from milestones. So let me take you to the basic facts. Why the forensic audit is required. If you go to the hard facts of it, if you go to the previous frauds that has been committed in different political regimes. So if you go from the period of 1965-97, where in the period of the Congo, where president of Zaire, that is Mobutu Sese Seko, where he has committed embezzlement or estimate of the fraud approximately of $5 billion. And in Indonesia, it is Muhammad Suharto, the president in 1967 to 98, he has committed to the tune of $15 to $35 billion. If you go to the president of Haiti, he has, that is a Jean-Claude Duvalier, and he has committed to tune of $300 to $800 million. And if it is the president of Philippines, the Ferdinand Marcos, in period of 1790 to 86, he has committed to the tune of 5 to 10 billion dollars. And then again, if you go for Yugoslavia, the president of Serbia, where Slobodan Milosevic has committed to the tune of US $1 billion. So these are all the fraud history that has happened in the previous legacy, where much of the frauds has been committed in different countries, followed by Nigeria, Peru, Ukraine, and Nicaragua, even in Philippines. So these are all the fraud that has happened. So if you see it from the perspective of the in the tables, the percentage of companies affected by the listed frauds, you can see that there are different types of fraud that has been happened. First of all, the theft of physical assets. In 2013, 12, 2011, you can see these are the theft of physical assets that has happened. The information theft that has happened is around 22, 21, 23. So these are the percentages that has happened. So there is a management from perspective of the management conflict of interest. This is also one more aspect that the fraud that has been committed, followed by vendor, supplier, or procurement fraud, internal financial fraud, corruption and bribery, regulatory or compliance breach, and an IP theft and market collusion and misappropriation of company frauds, or funds and money laundering. So these are all the various reasons where the different percentages can see ranging from 2011 to 2013. Then we have the cost of fraud analysis from India, Asia, and Pacific. You see that the more of the fraud that has happened, the direct loss is from the perspective of India. And if even if it is compared from other countries in Asia and Pacific or global, so India perspective individually has taken around 15 lakh 35 to 17 cases on an average, and even the damage to the reputation of the brand, it is India that is 92%, and so a lot of supremacy that has happened in terms of the increasing in percentage is reflecting from Indian subcontinent. Then again, the fraud in companies, basically, if you see from companies' perspective, the many companies are there. Example, there's Adeco International, and then again from Switzerland, and even from HIH Insurance, Harris, CAF, and OneTel from Australia. And you have Barry's Bank, Equitable Life, Wiggins, and Versalles from UK, and Combrode, Phenomedia, MLP, Hugo Boss, Nikki, and Zap Creation from Germany. So followed by we have Spain, Netherlands, Greece, Italy, Bermuda, Canada, Ireland, Sweden, France, USA. And if it is from the perspective of Asian countries, we have Indonesia, PT Bank, and that's from Bali, and Sinar Mas Group. And Thailand, Bangkok Bank of Commerce. In Malaysia, it is United Engineers, BHD. In Korea, we have Samsung Electronics, Hyundai. In Japan, we have IHI, Sanyo Electric. And from China, Zhengzhou, Baiwen, Shandong, Bohai, Xinzhou Port, Kelon. So a lot of companies are involved in this. So let us go ahead to try to understand what is the scams and frauds that is being perpetrated in Indian atmosphere. We have a legacy of a long from 1981, where Harshad Mehta's case was there, the security market scam, which went to the tune of around 5,000 crore rupees, where the initial that was the first. And then again, followed by in 1982, the further scam by Shara Gotala, there is 950 crore. In 1985, once again, we have CR Bansali scam for 1,200 crores. And then it's 2001, we have Ketan Parekh security market scam running to 1,250 crores. And in 2001, we have UTA scam running to the tune of 4,800 crores. And in 2003, we have Uttar Pradesh food grain scam running to the tune of 35,000 crore. Satyam scam 2008, that is 10,000 crore. And 2G spectrum distribution scam 2008, followed by Madhukora scam in 2009, and Commonwealth game scam 2010, Adarsh Housing Society scam 2010, Sahara India Parivar investor fraud scam 2010, and we have coal block allocation Colgate scam, Karnataka Work Board land scam, Uttar Pradesh NHRM scam, and Sharda Group financial scam. So these are all the scandals and scams that has happened to the different tunes. Followed by, if you venture to see the nature of frauds, mainly the nature of frauds can be from the perspective of money laundering, which is coming to 10% in volume of all the overall fraud scam, and occupational frauds coming to the tune of 48%, and cyber frauds to the extent of 2%, bank frauds to the extent of 30%, stock market frauds to the extent of 8%, and BPO market frauds to the extent of 2%. So this is the perspective of the entire portfolio about the nature of frauds that has happened until now. And it is very much pertinent that we need to know the quantum of the scams or the scam per value, the tune of tune of the loss that has happened per scam. So it is in year 1948, 1990, where the number of scams is one scam per year. Then again, scam value ranging from 80 lakhs to 2,000 crore. In 1981, 2007, three scams per year were there, ranging from 2,000 crore to 30,000 crore per scam. Then again, in 2008, we had seven scams, and then again 2009 9 scams, 2010 14 scams, 2011 23 scams, and 2011 around 23 scams. So this is the range of the quantum of scam that has happened. And the blue collar crime and white collar crime is very much important to understand. So we have two types of crime, that is a blue collar crime and the white collar crime. Let us try to understand the difference between this so that it will make us more very much very lively to understand what type of frauds that may be occurred by whom. So here in the street crime or the blue collar crime, it is more obvious, whereas in white collar crime, it is less obvious from identification point of view. But force, see, normally in physical force is more in terms of the blue collar crime. There's no physical, absolutely physical force that will be seen or detected at very less probably in white collar crime. And violence is more in the blue collar crime. Blue collar crime is the one where the street fighters will be there, that is mainly the middle class or the lower class people who are involved in diligence and fighting across, going for violence, where more will be caught in the by the police and the cops. And so here basically the more the violence will be there in the street crime, whereas in white collar crime there will be less violence. And the effect on the street crime, that is the blue collar crime, is on individual or lesser section of the people. But is in white collar crime, if you see, it is the largest section of the people who are directly or indirectly affected. And class of offenders, mainly the male member of the lower class who will be coming hailing for blue collar crime. But in white collar crime, it is mainly by the upper class of the society. And age of the offenders are very low. They're mainly the youth in the blue collar crime, whereas in white collar crime, it is the mainly done by perpetrated, very intelligently perpetrated by the matured age people. And loss of measurement, it can be done easily possible in blue collar crime, whereas white collar crime, it's very difficult to measure. So media coverage is very high in street collar crime. You can see the TV9 or anyone immediately going to the area to cover the entire issue episode if it is a blue collar crime, but it is very low in case of white collar crime. And prosecution is rigorous, whereas in case of blue collar crime, but is very less rigorous in case of white collar crime. And benefits shared by individual only in case of blue collar crime, but white collar crime, name normally what will happen here is it is individual or it is occupational, and normally it will be the organizational if it is a corporate crime. So this is the characteristic features of the blue collar crime and white collar crime. And so here, whatever we are discussing, the case of the frauds or forensic accounting or forensic auditing, this will be mainly perpetrated by the higher helm, those people who are occupying the higher helm of the affairs of the corporate or any of the institution. They are the one who mainly perpetrate this type of crimes, especially in terms of money laundering, embezzlement of funds. So this type of frauds will have to be scanned thoroughly, and it can be discovered only after thorough examination. Otherwise, it cannot be easily apparently discovered easily. So frauds year-wise, if you see here from year-wise number about the amount of the frauds in case of banking sector, it is 2009-10 in case number of cases is 24,791, and the to the extent of the tune of frauds of 2,037.81. That's the amount of frauds that is there. Then again we have from 2010 to 11 to 2012 to 13 different number of cases. If you see, it is been rationally how the cases has been taking over from one year to year. Then again, we have year-wise fraud cases in banks. So the number of cases in absolute term is there, that is 24,791 in 2009-10. In 2010-11, it is 1987. And 2011-12, it is 14,735. In 2012-13, it is coming to 13,293. And the amount of frauds in crores has been continuously increasing year after year. So then again, the number of cases, if you see for the bank group wise fraud cases, the number of cases in absolute terms and amount involved in rupees crores from nationalized banks, especially from Indians' perspective, is that national banks are the one who are committing more. Then next, it is the private banks. then again it is a foreign banks. So if you see much of the if you see from more from the perspective of the entire scenario, I think it is the private sector banks. We are having around 93,331 cases running to the tune of 55.16 crores. Then again we have 3848.19 running to 12.87 percentage in terms of the fraud perpetration in crores. So this is the way how it is happening. And then again, bank group wise fraud cases, the same thing has been summarized over here in terms of the bar chart. So this reflects the exact way of how the frauds has been committed. And again, bank group wise advance related frauds where value more than rupees 1 crore is involved. See, nationalized banks, including SBI Group and private sector banks, foreign banks, we have a total of from ranging from 2009-10 to 2012 to 13. So it is being continuously increasing and disastrous, I say. So these are the way how the frauds has been committed. And bank side advance related frauds, if it is been plotted over here, the previous information, the previous slide information, if it is taken on a plotter, it would reflect like this. So the bank-wise groups technology-related frauds is one more where if you see in 2009-10, the nationalized banks, including SBI Group, have committed to the extent of 1.82 percentage rupees in crores, and private sector banks it is 34.68, and then again foreign banks it is 26.88. So total coming to around 63.38. So we have seen this in 2012-13, it has been continuously increasing. So the fraud rate has been continuously increasing. So it was 63.38, it has grown to 67.36. So the same, if it is reflected in the plotter, it would reflect like this. So bank fraud cases, especially group wise, if you see from the Indian perspective, we have public sector banks, then private sector banks, foreign banks, financial institution, small finance banks, and payment banks and local area banks. So the public sector banks, the number of frauds is 3,704, where the amount involved is 64,207 crores. And similarly, in 2019-20, once again, it has been increased, followed by small decrease in 2020. Then again, in private sector banks, the same follows. It is 2,149 cases, and it has increased the day after one by one, but the amount has once again increased considerably. So the private sector banks are contributing more to the history of fraud cases when compared to the other banks. The foreign banks is another one who have joined the suit over here. So it is very much important that we need to see how this has to be controlled. So then again, we have a very important aspect, that is the corporate frauds from South Asia. Afghanistan, they have ranged from 3 cases, Bangladesh 4 cases. India is the one which has recorded highest 77 fraud cases, and Nepal 1, Pakistan 15, and then again we have Sri Lanka 3 cases. So total cases is 103. So this is the past history of the cases that has been recorded. From initial perspective, we can know that much of the fraud has taken place in India, followed by Pakistan, and then we have many other countries who have followed the suit. So it is very much important to understand the type of stock market fraud experienced in India. In previous legacy, if you see, there is unauthorized trading, especially in intermediaries fraud. So unauthorized trading is that type of trading where which happens basically from the point of view of the unauthorized transaction, where no record will be there of any of the transaction that has been perpetrated. And so it is very much important that we need to understand that these type of transaction, they are not actually they are not being registered under the any of the platforms where the secondary market, especially in the where the stock exchange, where normally it will be resorted for the broker. So these unauthorized trading will be happening. And then we have front running, that is one more thing, where the lot of activities in case of the normally where it will be perpetrated by the highly sophisticated people who are involved in it. And so here this front trading is basically a trading of stocks or any asset based on insider knowledge of a future transaction. So that will affect mainly from the perspective of the from the they are basically the trading stock normally or any other financial asset by a broker was inside knowledge of a future transaction that is about to affect its price substantially. So a broker may also front run based on insider knowledge that the firm is about to issue a buy or sell recommendation to clients that will almost certainly affect the price of an asset. So this is one type of this is one more type of where the frauds will be committed. And we have one more dabba trading over here, what we used to see in the previous regime, where it is an unauthorized pseudo stock market with its own set of rules, and it is illegal and not regulated by the market regulator, and it is carried out by the persons not registered with SEBI basically. And normally the transactions are done through the cash over here. So this is the main features of this debit trading. And then we have the collocation fraud that has happened. This is basically another type of fraud where normally which will be done where in Indian perspective. Collocation fraud is the facilitator of high frequency trades. That means you get a price feeds a split nanosecond quicker than the rest of the market gets, and the broker is required to put up a collocation server at the exchange, and which will give him then the fractional advantage to trade over here. So this is one more type of it. And then we have then we have insider trading, where the normally the persons who are the brokers, they'll be having a privileged information about what type of transactions will be done. So they'll be knowing when the prices will be skimming, when the prices will be rigging. So at this point of time, since the insider information is with the traders, especially for the brokers, so they try to know, or they'll try to see how this can be manipulated, and they try to know when they need to purchase the shares, or when they need to purchase the securities, and when they need to sell it. So this is one more thing. Then we have market manipulation. That is one more thing. The group of say persons will be operating over here. They try to manipulate the entire market by taking over the entire control of the market. So this is one more thing. And we have price rigging. Pricing rigging occurs when the parties conspire to fix or inflate the prices to achieve higher profits at the expense of the consumer. So this is one more thing. And so this is very dangerous. And it is very much important that has to be curtailed, and a lot of measures have been taken by the government to circumvent this. There's one more thing, that is circular trading. It is a fraudulent scheme where sell orders are entered by a broker who knows that offsetting buy orders for the exact same number of shares at the same time and the same price, and have either been or will be entered over here. And this is the type of securities fraud that can take place in stock markets, especially causing price manipulation, and often it's related to pump and dump schemes. And I say the circular trading occurs when identical buy and sell orders are entered at the same time with the same number of shares and at the same price. So this is one more thing. Then we have one more thing that is called synchronized trading. So synchronized trading is one more very dangerous probably which is very much pertinent to need to be controlled. It's a kind of trade transaction where the seller and buyer execute the trade for almost the same quantity of and price at the same time. And it is basically it is the one where much of the where much of the money or current or money on the currency market by copying transaction made by experienced traders, and the investor does not need to make decisions and make trading operations, and the trader is paid a commission for each successful transaction over here. So then we have one more thing called the LTCG swindle. This is one more operating case where which is very much important to be need to be understood. So this has versatile perspective, and so this is one more case where swindling transaction that will happen. And then we have trade reversal in F&O segment, and we have company frauds like unlawful fundraising, initial public offering fraud, where it happened in the IPO offering, where the first for the primary markets, where for the first time the securities will be released. And we had Ponzi scheme, GDR accounts, and manipulation and poor governance. These are the type of stock market frauds that has been which has been brought about, experienced in India. So after coming to know the hardcore facts that has happened previously, it is very much important to understand the scope of forensic accounting. So for the first time, forensic accounting, I say it is a culture, it is an education, it is a management, it is an accounting from government and legislation point of view, which is very much required. The scope of forensic accounting, basically the scenario of implementation which takes from ERP. Forensic accountants can play a role of proactive risk reduction tools by performing extended procedures as part of the designs in the system developed phase itself. So here, many types of forensic accounting are there. If you see from the perspective, we have investigating, auditing, litigation services, criminology, and accounting. So forensic audit, basically it's an issue based on related to a specific problem. It has some several components that needs to include, especially from financial and accounting review, digital forensic analysis, and field investigation that are taken over here. So it's very much important from the perspective of to see that this how this can be controlled. So there are normally the frauds which are there, which needs to be controlled. We need to understand when the frauds may happen. If you get any fever, you can go and check with your temperature, and you can know what is the level of sophistication is there in terms of fever, so that immediately what is the course of action that has to be adopted by the initial diagnosis by a doctor. So similarly here, in perspective of the fraud, we need to have an instrument to understand, to find out at what stage of fraud we are. So we have three stages. One is red flag, second is yellow flag, and green flag, which is a barometer to understand what is the right course of action that we need to adopt. So if it is an indicator, so normally what will happen, the red flags of fraud is an indicator that frauds may be present and don't guarantee in its presence, and may be innocent but may point towards something more sinister. And there are three identifiers for this: behavioral aspect, or organizational aspect, or statistical aspect. So the fraud that is in red flags, it can be observed through the audit process and linked to the fraud concealment strategy. So here we need to understand the financial statement do carry all kinds of warning signals, and so red flag indicates that it means a stop. So we need to see that we need to probe questions and don't move forward until you're satisfied. Otherwise, we go ourselves into land into problems. So if it is yellow stage, that is yellow flag stage, is a clear indication that trouble may lie ahead, or depending on the answers to some well-formulated questions. Of course, the green flags are the symptomatic indicators of the fraud, white collar crime, or sometimes something it is detrimental to the interest of the organization. So it's very much important that these three flags has to be understood in its own perspective. And once you have understood the perspective, and you need to understand where we stay, whether we are in the stage of red zone, or we're in the yellow zone, or we're in the green zone. According to that, your action will follow the suit. And we have the four categories of fraud, as I told you: fraudulent financial reporting schemes, misappropriation of assets, revenues, and assets obtained by fraud, and expenditures and liability for an improper purpose. So these are all the stages of reporting, where so main objectives of forensic accounting and auditing is to see that the forensic accountant's conclusion to facilitate the state settlement and claim or jury award by reducing the financial component as an area of continuing debate. So once the fraud has been detected, we need to take an action through the code of law. So it's very much important that report has to be drawn very skillfully in terms of the settlement claim. So this records whatever that has to be built out and has to be sent to the court. We need to understand what the documents that are required, and so how it has to be arranged. So all these things comes under the forensic accounting, and mainly the objective of forensic accounting is to avoid fraud and theft in the future, to restore the downgraded public confidence. So normally, whenever in banks or financial institutions, if there is continuous perpetration of the financial frauds, this lose the confidence in the public, among the general public, and they may not come forward to put their deposits. So that's the reason why the legislations have become very stringent now. So they want to see that they need to restore the downgraded public confidence, and to formulate and establish a comprehensive corporate governance policy that is very much required, and to create positive work environment that is very much important over here. So that's the main device for bringing about the basic objectives of forensic accounting. And to see that the purpose of forensic accounting is not only that to see that prove the financial crimes and prevent financial crime and anticipate the future crimes. See, prove is something, whatever that has already happened, we need to prove, we need to deter them, to punish them. Prevent is see that none of these course of action may not appear in future. Anticipate to see that what may be the likely propensity of such frauds that may be likely to be committed. What is the nature or propensity of such frauds may be committed? So warding of all these things, we can devise our policies in such a manner to see that the frauds can be close to the policy framework. That is very much required. Then advantages of forensic accounting is basically it's an area of accounting that requires deeper specialism than standard accounting. Large companies will have a dedicated forensic accountant to ensure they're always compliant and make sure the financial exchanges with other parties are carried out correctly and help solve and prevent the crime, financial crimes, help monitor your correct process and teams, and helps evaluate the compliance of the parties you're considering working with. So the basic advantage is to see that the white collar crime is perpetrated totally, it is totally controlled. So all normally the forensic accounting is being done in respect to the banking and financial institution, and I've discussed just now a couple of seconds back what are the type of the legacy of the crimes, the nature of the crimes that has happened. So these are all basically perpetrated by the white collar crimes, those who are occupying at the helm of the affairs. So in normally what will happen, this financial, we need to understand that the forensic accounting work starts from the day, from the accounting that takes into account a wide range of documents to uncover the crimes, especially including examining the financial statements or talking to associated parties or examining the internal data or examining the court records and collaborating with government officers or lawyers and examining bank statement and credit statement. And we need to examine the correspondence like invoice, letters, emails, and conduct interviews. So observing the providing changes in the lifestyle of the accused. So increased spending, maybe drafting over there. So we need to understand all this. So again, the forensic accounting process involves the 4 steps to protect your finances. So first of all, we need to map out the investigation, whatever that has to be conducted, and gather the evidential support for it so that we can prepare the report that should be the third stage. And then this report, whatever being prepared, has to be testified in court. So there's a 4th stage. So there are 4 steps involved in it. First of all, if you want to see in-depth analysis of the first step, that is a map out the investigation. So here, normally the first step involved in investigating accounting is preparation. So we need to understand what are the good forensic accounting will start with the end in mind and will create a master plan to help guide his or her research analysis. So investigative plan undertakes tasks like meeting with the client to understand and capture his or view of the dispute, or probing deeper into understand all the aspects of the dispute, and locating and organizing all the relevant financial documents, identifying anomalies and inconsistencies, and postulating motives and seeing if any evidence supports them. So it is very much important that once you map out the investigation, we need to gather the evidence to support the case. So evidence is the most important outcome of investigations, and forensic accountants have a specialized skill which allows them to analyze complex and opaque financial issues. And so this normally it is a more complex process becomes when a perpetrator has purposefully covered his or her tracks and cooked the books. So normally accounting skills needed to reach the financial record and deep analysis needed to run to turn up the clues, identifying patterns and make the numbers tell the truth. And we apply the computer assisted auditing techniques, which I'm going to discuss in the subsequent slides. What are the tools and techniques which are used normally in forensic accounting? And this have accumulated all a separate discussion. So as of now, the testing internal control internals, and in order to find the loopholes that may have allowed to, for the fraud to occur, are intervening individuals involved in this case. And then again, while interviewing the individuals, we need to understand how the interview will be happening. So first of all, when we gather the evidence, either oral evidence may be accumulated or the documentary evidence. If it is documentary evidence, as I told you, the whole normal procedures to collect the data of all the ledgers, extracts, or whatever it is. From perspective of interviewing the personalities, from interviewing the individuals, they should have a lot of knowledge in interviewing, especially the questions they frame. Normally, it will be in 2 perspectives, whether it's open tag questions or closed tag questions. If it's open tag questions, the entire steering will be given to the individual where he gives his own point of view. Or if it is closed tags, they need to understand the question and answer yes or no, whatever it may be. So they're confined to their views and actions. So here, whenever they give their answer, normally the body language and the facial expression and the cues, whatever they leave, or the starters or the fillers, whatever they use in the sentence, is very much important to analyze whether they're saying the information in correct perspective or they're trying to fake the information. So it's very much important that we need to observe the body language. So normally whenever a person, if he wants to fake the information, he just respond in a late manner whenever I pose a question, so that he'll have sufficient time to prepare to answer the question. So that may be one of the cue that will lead that he's trying to mislead the information. So here there are a lot of ways how the information can be faked up. So especially from the point of view of even if if his perspective is to see that to answer in the right correct posture, we need to understand whether he is trying to fake the information from the point of fillers, where he use a lot of fillers to get the time. He wants to buy the time to manipulate the information. So it's very much important that all this has to be observed. And so here we need to understand the basic soft skills, whatever that we have learned, whether we are able to pick out the cues from their perspective of their body language, especially. And it is very much important that interrogating suspects to meet, and we need to make them admit their whatever the misconduct that they have committed. So once you have made the investigation from oral point of view and the documentary perspective, we need to prepare appropriate reports. The report, the forensic accounting has gathered all necessary evidence. He or she must lay it on a clear and orderly fashion, providing comprehensive report, and may seem like it should not seem like a boring detail, but it should be full of data collected and explained when it could mean a difference between a positive outcome or the trial or lack of evidence. And the report must hold up even when the opposing party seeks to discredit or disprove it. So here, was the fraud or misconduct? If so, what type of fraud or whatever misconduct that has been committed? That is the main thing that has to be answered. And how was it concealed, and who are the responsible parties, and what is the total loss of the damages caused by the misconduct or misdemeanor. So all these questions has to be answered while preparing the report. It's very much pertinent that we need to answer that, and we need to testify in the court. So forensic accountants gather evidence and may also serve as testifying experts in trials, and their expert testimony gives the report greater credibility and context because they can explain the data and findings in clear, concise knowledge. So here we need to understand that normally, as I told you, as in a previous slide, I've told you how the fraud triangle happens. What are the reasons, plausible reasons that may happen for perpetration of the crimes? So identifying that, we need to modulate and try to make it more professionalized in identifying the reasons in specific to case analysis. In cases involving fraud and financial disputes, you need to have team of experts who can dig into the financial records and find out and excavate the truth. And it calls for independent depth knowledge of the legal procedures as well. Then interview skills and techniques, as I discussed with you, the forensic accounting interview, a powerful weapon against the fraud and crime. So here the forensic auditor has to understand the perpetration, how this has happened. So as I told you, whenever it comes to the matter of unmasking the guilt from the financial persons, we need to uh, make an appropriate interviews to see that the as I told you in the previous slides, how the body language and how the facial expression unmask the guilty of an individual. It is very much important that we need to prepare to understand how whenever the interview skills are conducted, we need to go probing into it. So there are a lot of there's one more three types of tests that will be conducted. Normally a psychographic test, or it may be from then again we have narcotic tests that will be conducted, and a lot of other tests which will be conducted to identify whether a person is saying in his own true perspective or not. So if it is narcotic, they'll be given a doping test and they try to analyze the information whatever that has been said by him. Or it may be the suspect will be given a psychotropic test, where they'll try to analyze the pulse and the recording of the pulse ratios to find out the pulse movements and find out whether the heartbeats, and they try to analyze all these and try to find out whether he's been impulsive or whether he's trying to hide any information, and they try to analyze all this information. So these are the types of tests that will be posed on any suspect. So then again we have normally, as I told you in the previous slides. So normally the proceeding a signed confusion is the final step of successful interview. So written confession has to be taken and prepared in advance, so as to get the subject signature. The suspect signature is very much important. So once a confession has been signed, the subject word is on the record and it can be changed or taken back as the investigation proceeds. Then again, as I told you, the interviewing, it is a significant has a significant impact on the process of investigating accounting fraud. So a competitive forensic accountant can make a lot of difference in investigation and prompting a confession out from a suspect and identifying the best possible ways to turn an interview into an invaluable evidence. Then again, there are certain common signs of deceptions and techniques used to assess the interviews, as I told you. So they're normally the main goals. Normally, the fraudsters, the swindlers, the forensic accountant has to play a valuable role in conducting interviews on them. And so these interviews may seem very straightforward. However, there is a strategic process to conducting interviews. Here, the main goal of an investigating strategy is to gather and synthesize enough supporting evidence to provide a sound basis for questioning the suspected fraudster and to elicit the admission of guilt here. And detecting deception plays a crucial role in investigating interviews. So here, the vagueness in deceiver's response will give a clear clue that he's trying to avoid the information and the amount of time it takes for the individual to respond, as I told you, or it may be suppressive body language, or it may be fillers, or if he's not full of confidence. And normally, non-verbal and verbal expression, it is facial expression, body language, gestures, and smiles, felt or false smiles are there. So if it is a genuine smile, we can make out, but if it is a false smile, we can clearly make out the guiltiness, perplexity in the face, anxiety, fear, and delight, saccadic eye movements. So all these things, face-to-face interactions. So all these things helps and make find out whether a person is saying correctly or he's trying to perpetrate the false information in at the time of interview. So admission seeking interviews is one more type where professional interviews are subject whose involvement in fraud and theft has been reasonably established. And so this is one more way of seeking information. We have cyber forensics, the cyber crime. Normally, the cyber crime, also called the computer crime, the use of a computer as an instrument to further illegal ends, such as committing the fraud and trafficking in child pornography and intellectual property and stealing identities or violating the privacy. So the cyber forensics helps in trying to uncover all the type of crimes, the cyber crimes that have been perpetrated. Normally, they try to swindle the cash, swindle the properties by going for more on the authentication of the whatever the evidence that has been collected by them. So this has to be a serious crime that has been followed. And digital forensics and cyber crimes, the main goal of digital forensics is gathering of evidence of cyber and digital crime. So normally the investigators and forensic specialists use different forensic tools such as time-stamped hash records or repeatable and reproducible for a chain of custody to stand as evidence in courts of law. So the cyber forensic law is one more, it's an application of investigation analysis techniques to gather and preserve evidence from a particular computing device in a way that is suitable for presentation in the court of law. So we have data extraction. Data extraction is the process of obtaining data from a database or SAS platform so that it can be replicated to a destination such as a data warehouse designed to support online analytical processing. We are having overlap where data extraction is the first step in data ingestion, which is normally which is governed by the process called ETL, where extract of information is there, transform of information, load of information. So data extraction from paper will be done. So then again, we have digital forensic and cybercrime. They're totally a different concept. Digital forensics and cybercrime is a multidisciplinary area where that requires expertise in several areas, including law, computer science, finance, networking, and data mining and criminal justice. So these are all the one which will be used in trying to we are trying to use it from identifying the crimes. And we have ethical hacking, which involves authorized attempt to gain authorized access, unauthorized access to a computer system, application, or data. So we need to Just a moment. Can there's some disturbance over here? Just a moment. Can everybody see my slide? All of you? Can you please confirm me whether you're able to hear me and see the slide? Can everybody confirm me whether you can see the slide?
Yes, sir. We can see the slide, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So as let me continue from the previous. So ethical hacking is one more authorized attempt to gain unauthorized access to computer system or application or data. So there are many types of ethical hacking, mainly from web application hacking, social engineering, system hacking, hacking wireless networks, and web server hacking. So this is all the type of hacking, ethical hacking that is happening recently. So we need to see how this has to be curtailed over here. So then again, we have digital forensics and incident response, DFIR. Basically, DFR basically a special field focused on identifying, remediating, and investigating cybersecurity incidents. So digital forensics include collecting and preserving and analyzing the forensic evidence to paint a full detailed picture of the events. Incident response, meanwhile, is usually aimed at containing, stopping for preventing an attack. So we have, when combined digital forensics and incident response, get your business back and running while identifying and closing security vulnerabilities, and gives you the evidence you need to press charges against the criminals who targeted your operations or support a cyber insurance claim. So this is the exact wordings of DFIR. The very reason why I read the exact verbatim words is this is the objective of DFIR, and they're very just how they try to see how expensive and damaging a single attack can be. It's very much important that DFIR, they have the steps, process, a rule that can be followed. And so then again, the DFIR, digital forensic and incident response, basically is a multidisciplinary set of tasks and process that seeks to stop an active cybersecurity incident, and it fuses traditional incident response activities. So mainly digital forensics is a branch of forensic science that covers digital technology. Analytical analysts focus on the recovery, investigation, and examination of material found on digital devices. So the end goal of digital forensics is to gather and preserve the evidence to aid in prosecuting the cyber crime should the culprits behind an attack face the criminal charges. So these are all the main ethical focus where DFR helps us. Then we have the incident response. As I told you, IR is a set of activities a business engages in when they are in the midst of a cyber security incident. So IR, basically a cyber, it is being defined as an event that compromises uh, information confidentiality and integrity and or availability. So core principles of information security that are often referred to as CIA TRAD. Basically, IR activities will be generally be informed by an IR plan that's designed to get IT infrastructure back up and running as quickly as possible while mitigating the overall damage of an incident. So these frameworks are designed to support recovery efforts. So in a broader sense, they help an organization to build cyber maturity and proficiency over here. So then we have the importance why DFR is very much important. So basically, the information frequently used to help build a legal case, basically to identify the attackers. Then it delivers a deeper understanding through very comprehensive and intricate forensic process who has attacked, and then also it is for business basically to recover the top mind concerned, which is beyond getting back and running into the information. So these are all the main reasons. There are certain modus operandi rules for forensic audit. First of all, there are certain rules that has to be performed. So first of all, we need to identify the risk areas where the fraud might have occurred. So understand and access the scale of risk is very much important. Then we need to develop a risk response strategy for it and implement the strategy and allocate the responsibilities. The next stage is to implement and monitor the suggested controls. And then again, we need to review and define the process and do it again. So these are the stages. So let me brief you how the program of forensic audit can be commenced. So there are certain modus operandi rules. First of all, we need to commence with a due diligence. The entire forensic audit depends on the contract that we have entered to review with the client. So first of all, we need to know what extent the forensic audit has to be done. So your audit program, your audit contract specifies you which are the areas which needs to be gone into the depth. So first of all, we need to commence with the due diligence, and comprehensive internal social and environmental audit process has to be done for it. And the third aspect is the external impact study has to be done. And fourth one is preliminary report and collection of evidences, and we need to preserve that. And then again, preparation of impact report is there. And then we have report on internal financial control weakness or reason that may be there for departure of the standards. And the seventh step that may need to be done is advisory on the remedial measures to the management. And eighth one is discussion with the audit committee or management on the forensic observation. So if you see the main reasons behind the financial statement manipulation or fraud, one of the reasons may be to raise the stock or prices, or it may be outperform analyst expectations, or to raise capital from the banks and other financial entities. Normally, when you go for projects to take over the loans, so these are the different types of crimes of frauds and the frequency of perpetration in percentage wise. So normally the types of crimes of cyber fraud, cyber crime is asset misappropriation, then bribery and corruption, and accounting and financial statement fraud. We have procurement fraud, human resources fraud, deceptive business practices, anti-competition, antitrust law infringement, or maybe in terms of money laundering and sanctions, intellectual property right theft, or insider unauthorized trading, or tax fraud. There are other types of fraud as well to the extent of 4%. And so after understanding all these things, we need to know how the flow chart of forensic accounting or forensic investigation or forensic auditing has to be commenced. So first of all, we need to plan out, as I told you in a couple of seconds back, we need to plan the audit based upon the contract we have entered. Then again, accounting and auditing and investigation will take place. Final will be the reporting. But in each and every stage, we have a lot of action that has to be performed. Especially in the case of planning, we need to take initial meeting with the client and understand his nature of business. We need to understand the client, what type of nature of business, and we need to understand the documents, the main basic documents, the main basic charter documents that have been kept by them, and we need to understand the process flow chart, product flow chart, then consider the terms of engagement and agree subject matters and scope of investigation that has to be performed, and performing conflict of interest check that is there, and prepare the purpose, objective, key issues, and activity statement is to be done. Then we need to identify the investigation boundaries and risk, that is very much important, and develop action plan and program. Then we have to take a selection of approach. Especially, we need to establish the standards. Once the standards has been established, if there is no implication, it is unique specific. So there's a lot of scope to review back once again. If it is not established standard, then we need to once again go back and see how this can be done in the loop. So here, first of all, in terms of accounting and auditing and investigation, we need to communicate objectives and approaches to the key team personnel of the client, and recognize the issues, whatever they have done. And site facility inspection or visit has to be conducted regularly, focusing the audit objectives. Then we need to go for interviewing the key informants, especially including the experts, and then review of the documents and records is another perspective which has to be done, where the records may be any internal records or any pro forma annexure or anything that has been kept by the client, and assessment of the risks and internal controls has to be done. Then collection of information in terms of quantitative and qualitative will have to be done. Then initial assessment and review of information will be done. So once sufficient information has been gathered, we need to go verify the information and objectives. If no information is sufficient information, we need to expand boundaries and scope. We need to expand the scope of it and try to gather more information on evidence collection. But if in either case, the information verification will happen in perspective to objectives even after collection. Then after that, we obtain evidence for legal proceedings. So all information that has been collated has to be neatly arranged, prioritized, and it has to be neatly arranged from the perspective of legal perspective. And we need to arrange the evidence legal documents according to the grounds, whatever that has been taken for suspicion of fraud that is there, and whether sufficient appropriate evidence has been collected. If it is yes, So we need to expand investigation or change the methodology. If it is being collected, evaluate and analyze, and findings will happen. But if it is not collected, we need to expand it furthermore. So in either case, the documentation of evidence will go. Then the final stage will come for reporting stage, where you need to prepare a draft report, and discussion with the lawyers and experts and panel members is very much has to be conducted over here. Then the final forensic engagement report has to be validated, and corrective preventive actions and follow-up review has to be done. Then the preparation for local proceedings and submission in court, whatever if it is needed, has to be done appropriately. So it involves a long rhetoric process when we draft it. So then again, after that, forensic accounting and auditing services, mainly the anatomical sketch happens to be from three perspectives. One is from accounting perspective, then we have auditing and assurance, then we have investigation science. So looking for the perspective of accounting aspect, we need to look beyond the numbers while examining the financial reporting that is there. We need to see the gap, whether IFRS regional standards has been followed, or if there's any reframing of accounting based legality and gaps that has been followed. Then we need to go and identify the auditing and assurance aspect. We need to understand the risk assessment, analytical procedure that is required to extend our audit, and design and performing extended audit procedures and compliance of standards of auditing where applicable, and introspective and skeptical mindset for reviewing the transactions and deals. The final is the investigation science, where we need to go for fixation of direction of our investigation on realistic basis and gather evidence and clues through scientific and latest investigation technique, and followed by psychological behavior of human analysis. Then so evidence documentation happen from legal proceedings point of view. So as I told you, the fraud audit, whatever that has been done, we need to find out the audit from three perspectives. First of all, detection, then deterrence, then prevention. The main detection happens when fraud has been committed. So fraud once committed, we need to detect it, and we need to see that how we can deter it in future course of action. So what all the remedial measures that has been taken, so that is the course of action that has been adopted. The prevention program seeks to oblige where I need to see that whether am successful in seeing that the future course of propensity of occurrence of such frauds has been deterred totally. Okay, there is a lot of nature frauds. Seeking from the nature frauds point of view, we need to go to the grassroots level and remove the basic reason why such fraud has been committed, and see that future course is very safe and no such frauds will be committed. So this is the responsive diagram, where we need to see the forensic how it will be coming, how it will be done. Then again, we have forensic audit from other facts point of view. Here the as I told you, after analyzing so much information, the forensic audit is a special practice area within accounting and auditing domain, which examine the financial information of any entity in order to determine whether any fraud has taken place or not. And findings of this type of audit is used as expert testimony in the court of law. So here we have many technical facet that will be connected. Digital forensics helps you in perfectly preparing the report. Third-party investigation, financial analysis. Financial analysis is the information where we can gather from the financial statement. Financial statement being your profit and loss account and balance sheet, and we try to identify the auditor's notes and the interpretations given by responsibility statements that have been given by the directors. So all these information, especially the cash flow statement, fund flow statement, all these things, we can try to analyze the information through accounting ratios, and we can interpret it. And we have data mining techniques and interviewing the personnel, the suspects, and technical and aid relating handwriting and call data records. All this helps in preparing the evidence point of view. So the evidence can be collated from all these tools. Then again, we have highest level that the primary categories of corporate fraud, maybe in terms of corruption, asset misappropriation, and financial statement frauds. So these are the facets of different forensic audit that can be done. So if you go from business perspective, we have normally the business practices and ethics control the entire fraud program. So it is very much important that mainly the auditors see from the perspective of the corporate governance point of view, and they try to find out what are the ethical code of conduct that has to be framed, and how to avoid the red flags and risk identification, fraud awareness, and internal control design. And they have expert tool on promotion, especially from the organization website and intranet, email memos and social media, handbooks and acknowledgements on this. So there are different anti-fraud programs and controls that will be conducted to see that training of the internal staff, especially the internal controls and policies and procedures and job rotation and employee surveys, mandatory vacations and segregation of the duties. So as to see that the forensic audit will be done thoroughly. And we have third-party audits, surprise audits, continuous auditing and monitoring, and employee support programs, exit interviews, and disciplinary actions, which are the main focus will be on the human HR resource, where this needs to be controlled very accurately. And fraud response management is one more thing, and we have enterprise-wide assessments that will be conducted from the corporate perspective. And taking forensic audit reporting, as I told you, while preparing a reporting, facts and evidence plays a much vital role for convicting any person. So the logical presentation will be done on conclusive and decisive, whether we have to see the objective. What is the objective of the report has to be very clear. And then again, the contents, whatever that has been prepared, it should report and must be clearly understood. And this has to be, it includes all the information needed to reach a conclusion. So accurate content has to reflect, then again, professional. It has to be prepared very professionally, and the timeliness of the information preparation is very much important. If it is being done and given appropriately at the right time for the right person at the right time, then your report will be really very good. So these are the good report characteristics. Depending upon the scope and the objective, relevant legal dimensions as to admissibility, evidence, and expert witness, the entire thing will be framed in a neat, objective manner, and it will be produced to the court as well. So there are in role from perspective of an accountant, as I told you today, is an increasing trends of financial crimes and frauds or white collar crimes that have been committed. So here, a forensic accountant can render the services in the following areas, as I told you. First, from the perspective of shareholder or partnership or corporate disputes. Then again, especially the minority shareholders conflict of interest, or it may be personal injury claims or substantial or fatal accident insurance claims. So normally, accountant can see that the business interruption, if it is there, then identification of frauds committed by employees with personal gain, or detection of white collar crimes in the organization, or settlement of the challenging claims, or divorce or matrimonial disputes. Then again, professional negligence, that is negligence of standard auditing practices while engaged in professional responsibilities, or it may be from perspective of the financial statement frauds. So all these things forms the role of an accountant, where he can involve himself and see that the bribery, extortion, asset misappropriation, or revenue manipulation for avoiding taxes, or irregularities in financial statements and fraud. So all these things can be avoided. Finally, he can take the resort of the law, where arbitration and law criminology proceedings will be taken, and security manipulation, and see that how the legal aspect can be covered over there. So normally, who are the forensic accountants? Who are the one who can do this? Originally, it was CPA, certified public accountants, but then again, there are different. We had certified fraud examiners who are there, who used to do this. But again, there are specialized people who are doing this. They are the actual persons who can do the forensic accounting. So normally, what has happened here is, if you see from the perspective of the many organizations are there, like Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ICAEW, that is Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. We have CMA London, that is Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. So they're all qualified as an individual for a range of accounting roles, but further specialism such as auditing will be needed for anyone who wants to become a fully fledged forensic accountant. In Indian paradigm, it is CMA, that is the cost and management accountants, especially they are the one who have been professionalized to do all this forensic auditing. So we have many of the courses inbuilt, how in-house courses that has been done through the institute, where they certify as a forensic auditor, where you can propel yourself and go and do the forensic audit. And so here, it's very much important that it calls for qualifications, special qualifications and skills to be a forensic accountant. First of all, he needs to be a graduate in law or an accountant, and he needs to undergo some special course where comprehensive knowledge will be done, and especially in you need to know the financial or how the financial statements should be prepared, structure of financial statement, and analysis and accounting standards and practices. He needs to know in-depth knowledge about the ratio analysis, fund management in terms of cash flow, fund flow, and business mathematics and application of statistical tools, and business law and taxation laws, both direct and indirect laws. And he needs to understand the thorough knowledge in various regulatory matters, SEBI laws, corporate laws, and governance. And major, he needs to understand the criminal laws, Indian Penal Code, Evidence Act, cyber laws, and he needs to know much information systems, audit and data processing system, business valuation, and business ethics, and research methodology and business communication, and the science of human behavior. So all these things plays a vital role. And qualifications of the skills of a forensic accounting, as I told you, you should be able to clearly mitigate the risk. You should know what are the main objectives of audit, what all the basic ideas, how the audit procedural steps has been commenced. And so once he is equipped with all these things, he can take any forensic audit. So there are certain tools and techniques which will be used in forensic audit. The first one is Benford law. In Benford law, normally a new comb Benford law is there. It was propagated in 1938 by Mr. Frank Benford, Simon Newcomb in 1881, where they try to identify where the fraud would have been perpetrated. So it involves some sequential step. So first they identify the field of financial importance and extract a variable which requires examination, and they summarize the data collected and process the same. Normally it is done through either classify the first digit field, and they calculate its observed percentage. Then the Benford law is applied over there. And then again we have Z test, that is also a parametric test which will be applied over here. So then we have theory of relative size factor, that is RSF test, which will be performed. It's an effective tool which uses to test the highlights all the possible fluctuation in a given set of figures. It is used to calculate the ratio of the largest number to the second largest number. So normally ratio analysis means we have many types of ratio analysis like liquidity ratio, gearing ratio, capital gearing ratio. So these are not the type of ratios which will come in hand for finding out the forensic audit. So forensic audit has different ratio analysis. So it may be ratio of the given set of figures of the first largest number with the second largest number, or it may be in terms of the first largest number with the lowest number. Then there's a chance of fraud or error once the difference is higher in the ratio measurement. The formula is used. It is sometimes relative size factor will be taken, where the subject, the large second divided by the second largest record in the subset. Then we have computer assisted technique, CAT technique, where the is a common tool where the audit process verification examination will be done in depth, and various transaction and book balances will be verified, and they identify if there's any consistencies, inconsistencies, or there is any significant fluctuation in any figures will be identified, and they verify the computer control system, and they collect the sample programs and sample data which are necessary for auditing testing. So then we have data mining techniques, which is the one more process where it's a tool where the forensic appropriation can be unearthed. Normally it have three stages. One is discovery stage, predictive modeling, and deviation and link analysis. So in discovery stage, we try to identify and discover the data by using the knowledge without any application of predefined hypothesis. And in predictive modeling, it is used to predict outcome from the database. So this is one more thing. Then finally, we have ratio analysis, where the calculation of the ratio of the highest to the lowest value or the maximum value to the minimum value will be done. Then calculation of the ratio of the highest value to the second highest value will be done. Then calculation of the ratio of the current year to the previous year will be done for any item. So in this way, they try to identify the ways how the figures may have been manipulated. So we have other techniques, that is the general audit techniques, especially reviewing of public documents and conducting background checks and conducting detailed interviews. So we have then again gathering information in trustworthy sources, analyzing evidence gathered, and conducting surveillance, going undercover, analyzing the financial statements, which will be done by specialized persons. So we have digital forensic and data analysis in forensic audit. This recent digital intervention, IT intervention in finance and accounts has placed a lot of difficulties in the methodology and the tools that has been adopted. It's very much important that advanced technology awareness is very much required in fraud detection. So the digital forensic as to how the application, what is the very purpose of the research, what the hypothesis should be drawn, and how the verification has to happen in digital forensic will take a different perspective. So we need to understand the different factors, especially the impeding the fraud controls. So we need to find out whether the data is structured or unstructured data. So if it is unstructured, we need to analyze access and integrate the data. So we need to understand the rule-based testing, how it has to be done. So we have, whenever the digital forensic has been done, it has to be done from proactive and reactive. If it is proactive, setting up a forensic lab or a fraud risk management system is very much important, and evaluating the standards of an existing lab or process reviews. If it is reactive, we need to find out the investigations and evidence management, and finally the analytics driven fraud investigation is done, and then data consideration during data discovery will be done. So here, these are the steps and process. First of all, information governance will be done, then identification of it, then preservation and collection, then processing will be done, then production and review of the information will be done. So the investigation of data management will take place in a sequential process, and it will be done through the sequential process where much of the information will be accessed and it will be scrutinized to the tools. So here, first of all, the stages in advanced fraud analytics. So whatever the data collection strategy will be there, we need to map the data, which through electronic transactions, or it may be contract documents or open source information. Then the data ingestion will be done. From the data ingestion, the data info transformation, digitalization, data input, the data cleansing will happen. Then the data hosting platform will be taking over all the data and it will be stored over there. So normally there are the information processing, advanced analytics and results management will be done in a sequential process here. And then we have the fraud detection in advanced analytic and solution approach, where static rules will be there, and it will be supervised. It can be done into supervised learning, unsupervised learning as well. And we have a different analysis over here. The different tools, the clustering tool is there, clustering model, Markov chain modeling tool is there. We have association graph chain analysis modeling. So based on that, we try to identify and the domain expert. So anomaly detection, as I told you in the graphical terms, we can find out where the more from purchasing point of view, if it is the purchasing transaction, where the much of the error has happened or frauds that has been recurred can be seen in a different buyer perspective. So all these things are the analysis that will be performed over here. And then we have illustrative sample where the invoice, whenever the invoice has been purchased, and how to drill down the invoice perspective to find out the loophole as to the transaction frauds that has happened. And we need to go into the source or depth of the document to find out the figures. So these are the ways how this can be done. So there are certain difficulties in implementing the forensic accounting. First of all, the economy is sluggish and fluctuating and struggling. Stock market situation will be there, or it may be difficult in maintaining the accounts and audit trail on account of digitalization of records, or maybe due to complex judicial and political system that is at the hindrance in collecting of the records. It may be the most companies are not fully aware of the value and importance of the forensic accounting, or maybe the lack of effective internal financial control system, or absence of necessary guidelines for adoption of forensic accounting, or it may be availability of forensic accounting experts. So all this collates to make it very difficult to conduct this. So as I told you in the previous slide, I explained what is the difference between general audit and forensic audit. So no more to repeat once again. Then the forensic accounting becomes a specialized profession. Yes, because it has to be done through highly sophisticated knowledge, and it requires calls for high technological perspective, mainly in terms of the tools that can be used, and there may be interpersonal skills that is required, skeptical mind in identifying the shadow of any guilt that is there while introspecting any suspects, or international effects. Then again, pressure on valuation services, which is very much important. So it is a robust profession where everybody can do it. So as I told you, even if 1% of the fraud tune up amount is there paid as your fees, I think it will be more than enough, because all the frauds, it will be done. If you see the previous slides, whatever we explained, more of the frauds that has been committed has been gone to the tunes of crores, and it may be sometimes in millions of dollars. Then laws related to forensic audit, as I told you, there are certain laws which has become very stringent now. We have international statute and case law, Al Yama Harms Deal, and United Kingdom, UK Bribery Act 2010, which has come into the fore. We have USA in 1970s and Foreign Corrupt Practices Act 1977 USA. Then these are all the acts which has been bought out. Then we have Enron scandal in India, which has happened. So this, you know very well how it has happened. See, Enron scandal, it has happened in the year writing right from the 1988 till 2002. And so this is one more the law has brought about. Then WorldCom fraud, where many investors were skeptical, and Aber, CEO of WorldCom. So Enron scandal in 2001. Then again we have Sarbanes-Oxley Act 2002, where US government in 2002, in response to major corporate scandal, they said that for the first time that the CPAs have to be done in a more active audit partners. So they first of all say that more disclosure is required on the perpetration of whatever the fraud that has been committed. We have UN Convention Against Corruption Act, then prevention measures that have been taken. In India, we have Sahara Group scam, Satyam Computer scam, which has happened. And so we know that how Ramalinga Raju, depending upon the auditors, where PricewaterhouseCoopers, how they have manipulated the information. So from that day onwards, the government has taken very stringent rules to see that whatever, there should not be any window dressing of the information. And this, for the first time, they propagated that they see that any information that has which led to the slightest clue where the money swindling will happen with respect to the investors, immediately the fraud action, ED will come over here, ED Enforcement Directorate. And apart from that, we have CBI, the Crime Bureau of Criminal Bureau of Investigation. Then we have stringent Indian Penal Code and Indian Evidence Collection Act, where ICSI Anti-Bribery Code has been devised, and PNB Scam and Fugitive Economic Offenders Act 2018. So all these acts prevents the deterrence of such the commission of such offenses. Lately, we have one political dilemma where one of the politicians was dragged to ED, and he was remanded with all the information that has happened. So ED are playing a very active role in prevention of money laundering, and see that the public confidence will be restored, and see that no person will go for any of the money laundering or any of the cases that is perpetrated. So we have certain improvements and develop from technological intervention point of view in forensic audit. So we have blockchain, cloud, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things. So blockchain is one where let me explain what is blockchain. So blockchain is a way where the one part of the transaction block will be linked with another transaction block. So each block will be having a encrypted code, where encrypted code the final encrypted code of the first block will be matched with the starting encrypted code of the second block. And so here we have the information that is there, which will be matched with the transaction history of both the blocks. Even if that is not happening, we have the proof of miners, where both they try to match the information that is happening. So that is the reason why it is more secure. So due to this blockchain technology, now more and more the more and more the cryptocurrencies has been come about, like Ethereum, and we have Cardano. Many of the currencies have come about. Blockchain technology is very more secured, and it gives the transaction summary in Excel sheet in terms of the encrypted code wise. It will not give in terms of names. So that is the reason why we can get to know what all the transactions that has been committed. So it is very highly secure. So keeping this in point of view, the audit has to be suitably amended, and we need to change how we need to go with the audit is very much important. Then we have cloud computing, where a lot of all the information can be stored in terms of big data process or in the cloud computing, where all this information will be stored from data analytics, where the information will be processed and it will be given suitable reports. Then we have machine learning, where a lot of information will be converted through the robotics, and the machine learning helps facilitate the quick transformation of the information. Artificial intelligence, where it is basically where the recognition of human skills will be there, where human recognition voice will be there. So it is the one where, as I told you, it is very much important that the the artificial intelligence, whatever that has been done. So basically, it refers to a simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think like humans, and they mimic their actions over here. So it may be Internet of Things, where different identical identities, identity number has been given for different objects, especially in terms of when the transaction is happening in a warehouse, where the livestock can be tagged and it can be processed. It may be even the inventories, where the coding will happen, the barcoding, where they can trace out how the how the different commodities are moving from one location to another location. So Internet of Things can be identified through the code that can be given in identity for the different objects. So the keeping all these things from the perspective, we need to adopt suitably the need of AI in forensic audit is very much now, due to the speed of data and data generation and large number of dimensions that is happening over everywhere. We need to suitably adopt the strategy of the entire focus of this the mm, fraud detection. It is very much important that we need to suitably see that the forensic audit has to be neatly identified from perspective of this. Then we have tools of AI which are used in forensic audit. Basically, the caseware auditing tool, as I told you, we have integrated development, emulation, and analysis idea, where this is one more tool, and we have Tableau, public, popular, big data analytic tool. When you have a SAS business intelligence tool, these are all the different tools which will be used to see that the information will be collated and it will be controlled. So that's it. As of now, there are a lot of there is a lot of scope for the forensic auditing. So any a person can become a cost accountant, and he can propel through the cost auditor. And as I told you, it can come from CMA, or it can be from CMA. CIMA is one more course, that is Certified Institute, Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, or Cost and Management Accountants, where they are themselves empower themselves to become a forensic auditors. So it is still in a blooming stage. It's a lucrative profession, and anybody can practice. Those who have those who have desire to go into this audit. So that's it about the forensic audit and the role of an accountant. Now it is the time to take out any questions, quick questions, whatever is there from the auditor's point of view.
Thank you, sir. Participants, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or you can type in the chat box so that the sir will give response.
If there's any questions, you can, if anything related to the topic, I'll be very glad to address it. Kindly give me the questions, whatever you have, the doubts. Yes, any doubts?
So participant, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. I can unmute you, or you can type in the chat box. Sir, thank you for your wonderful session, sir. Your explanation was very good, actually. So there are no more questions, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I once again endorse my views and acknowledge a lot of thanks for the entire institutions for their excellent arrangements on this occasion. And at the same time, I was an excellent participant. I need to see that the participants were very patient to listen to me, and I once again congratulate them. So this is an excellent platform for deliberation of this topic. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, one question is there in the chat box, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll be very glad to answer that. What is the question? Do we have to do law with CMA, or can we do internal audit and forensic audit simultaneously? Sir, I would suggest that what I would like to say here is it's not only that the CPA who can do this, but CMA are the right authorized profession where we have devised much of the diploma courses where you can go and immediately resort to this the forensic as a forensic auditor. But CMA is the main. We need to be a CMA for this. Then again, yes, of course, even if you're LLB, that is an added core over there. If you're a law graduate and you can do internal audit and you can do forensic audit simultaneously, yes, that is the main core of it. And then again, we have one more question. The do you have statistics from 2013 to 2021? Yes, sir, we have the statistics from 2013 to 2021. And the main reason why I would like to say here is there was a pitch of where a lot of frauds that has been commenced from one particular point of view to landmark to another point of landmark point of view. That is the reason why I highlighted the recent frauds that has been committed has no bore to this, that does not bear any trace footprints to this forensic audit. So that's the reason why we're not highlighted about that. Then again, I would like to tell you one more thing. In the recent technological intervention where artificial intelligence and many things are there, if you see from the perspective of the recent budget session conducted by Nirmala Sitharaman, where she brought about she brought about the introduction of the digital currency to circumvent the whatever the cryptocurrencies, how they're dominating. So the digital currency, the basic idea of bringing is to see that there's a central governance authority to control the entire system. And similar thing has happened where in terms of whenever you file the returns, she proclaimed that in a budget session that whenever the returns that is there, it will be going through faceless assessment where no more assessee will be having a resurrect process to meet any income tax official. So it will be everything faceless assessment. Due to the digital interaction, digital involvement over here, in the future course of years, there'll be only digital mode where there'll be no any faceless assessment. It will be only the core to core matching of the information that is be happening. It will be even if the hash code matches with the information in terms of the returns filed, that is more than enough. So that is the sophistication of the technological intervention over that is happening over here. So here, whatever the forensic audit is there, there's a lot of repercussions even on the future, whatever the practice that has been followed. So this is my answer for a question.
Thank you so much, sir. No more doubts, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.